You think they're watching you because they're curious, but it's deeper than that. You feel the eyes on you, in silence, in crowds, even online. But this isn't random attention. You're not being watched casually. You're being monitored, and it's happening with precision. Every word you speak, every move you make, even your silence, it's being tracked, studied, calculated. Not for who you were, but for who you're becoming. You are a chosen one. And the monitoring is spiritual, intentional, and part of something far bigger than you realize. Let me explain. It's easy to think you're just being noticed more, that maybe you're attracting attention because of how you carry yourself, your glow, your success, your transformation. But in truth, the eyes on you are not simply noticing. They're observing with purpose. Because you're not just changing, you're rising. You're unlocking something within you that makes certain people and spirits uncomfortable. This isn't about social curiosity, it's spiritual surveillance. You see, chosen ones walk a narrow road, and on that road, your steps are not only ordered by God, they are also watched by forces that want to stop, study, or steal from you. These eyes are not watching out of love. They're watching out of assignment. Some of you have felt this tension, like someone's keeping tabs on you. You're not crazy. You've felt it when people ask questions they shouldn't know to ask. When people pretend not to watch but repeat things you've never told them. When strangers treat you like a puzzle they've been trying to solve. You feel it when people hover near your orbit, offering fake support but showing subtle signs of envy or control. These are not coincidences. This is monitoring. And it's happening with precision. They are not watching what you are doing. They are watching why you're doing it. They're watching your rhythm, your triggers, your consistency. They want to see what fuels you, and more importantly, what can stop you. But here's the part they'll never understand. You are not fueled by the world. You are powered by purpose. That means your movements can't be mapped by logic. You don't operate on trends. You operate on divine timing. That's why they can't predict you. They monitor you hoping to find a weakness, but instead, they find grace. Some of the people in your circle, even those close to you, are watchers, not supporters. And this is hard to accept, because we want to believe everyone clapping for us actually wants us to win. But the truth is, some people are clapping just to stay close enough to keep tabs. They monitor your words so they can distort them. They monitor your glow so they can try to dim it. But no matter how closely they watch, they can't access what wasn't meant for them. You are being monitored because your presence exposes agendas. You're being monitored because your peace disturbs chaos. Your healing shakes systems. Your clarity reveals deception. When you walk into a room, spiritual surveillance intensifies. Because you're not just another person. You are a signal, a disruptor, a divine instrument. And that's why the monitoring is so precise. Because your next move carries weight. Heaven has been whispering to your spirit, preparing you for a transition that others sense, but you haven't even spoken aloud. And yet, they feel it. They feel the shift. That's why the monitoring increased. Because spiritually, they sense that your breakthrough is near. They know something's coming, and they're desperate to either block it or attach themselves to it. But don't be afraid. Don't shrink back. Monitoring is part of the mantle. Being watched is part of the assignment. When God marks you, He also protects you. And while some people are watching to sabotage you, others are watching to learn from you, even if they never say it. That's why you have to stay locked in. Because not everyone monitoring you is malicious, but even the well-meaning can distract you if you're not grounded. You don't need to explain your process. You don't need to overshare your next steps. You don't need to prove anything. In this season, move in silence but execute in clarity. Let your fruit speak for itself. And understand this, the reason why the monitoring is increasing now is because something divine is about to be revealed through you. Your obedience is unlocking doors. Your growth is breaking generational cycles. Your faith is shaking strongholds. So of course they're watching. Of course they're asking questions. You are becoming what they were never prepared for, a spiritually awakened threat. What you carry can't be copied. It wasn't taught. It was imparted. So even if they mimic your moves, they won't manifest your results. Because your anointing wasn't built from the spotlight. It was forged in the fire. They didn't see the nights you cried, the warfare you survived, the silence you endured. They just see the rise. But God saw the whole thing. And God is the one revealing you now, on purpose, for purpose. So yes, you're being monitored, but not just by your enemies. Heaven is watching too. Angels have been assigned to your every step. Heaven has activated protection around your name. And while the enemy watches with envy, God watches with intention. So while you're being monitored by those trying to figure you out, you're also being measured by heaven. Measured not for perfection, but for preparation. Every test you've passed in private, every decision you made to walk away from what didn't serve you, every time you chose peace over retaliation, it was noted. Every time you didn't explain yourself, every time you stayed silent instead of exposing someone, it was documented in the spiritual realm. This is why the surveillance around you has intensified, because spiritually, you've already entered a different realm, even if your physical circumstances haven't caught up yet. And that realm carries responsibility, not just visibility. When you are a chosen one, you're not just being elevated for yourself, you're being positioned to lead, to heal, to disrupt patterns. And the enemy doesn't take that lightly. That's why even when you're resting, they're watching. Even when you're quiet, the chatter continues. Even when you think you're being overlooked, you're actually being studied, because your presence is unpredictable. It doesn't follow man-made logic. You're not ruled by emotions. You're guided by discernment. You don't need validation. You have vision. And vision scares people who rely on visibility. You're not performing. You're evolving. And evolving souls can't be managed by people who are still controlled by ego, insecurity, or spiritual blindness. So they monitor you, trying to find a box to place you in. But you outgrow every label they try to stick on you. One moment, they call you too intense. The next moment, they're secretly copying your energy. One day, you're too quiet. The next day, they're asking for your wisdom. And that's how it goes for chosen ones. You're misunderstood until you're undeniable. Let's be clear, you're not paranoid. You're perceiving. You're not imagining things. You're spiritually awake. And because you're awake, you see the patterns in people. You feel the energy shift when certain folks enter a room. You notice the subtle behaviors, the micro-jealousies, the indirect shade, the fake smiles. That's part of your gift. You're not just being watched in the physical, you're picking up the spiritual temperature of your environment. God gave you this discernment not to make you suspicious, but to make you strategic. You're not supposed to call everyone out, but you are called to move accordingly. In this season, your protection is in your precision. You can't afford to explain your movements to people who never had the capacity to understand your journey. Let them think what they want. You are not for public consumption. You are for purposeful alignment. And the beautiful thing is, the more they monitor you, the more they witness your elevation. They'll see that you never had to beg, boast, or betray. You just stayed in alignment. You stayed faithful. You stayed focused. And that is what secured your next level. Not clout, not connections, not attention, but character. That's what they can't replicate. That's what keeps their eyes glued, because they can't figure out how you keep winning when you don't play by their rules. They don't understand that you are being backed by heaven, that you're not self-made, you're God-moved, that your strength doesn't come from pride, it comes from prayer, that your glow didn't come from validation, it came from refinement. You walked through fire and came out with oil. You faced betrayal and came out with wisdom. You endured isolation and came out with purpose. No wonder they're watching so closely. Your life is a blueprint for everything they secretly desire, but refuse to surrender for. And this is where your power lies. Not in your followers, your image, your words, but in your spiritual authority. That's why the enemy doesn't want you to realize who you are. That's why some people get assigned to drain you, to distract you, to delay you. But it's too late now. You've already seen too much. You've felt the shift. You've passed the test, and heaven is releasing you into a season where the watching becomes witnessing. They'll watch the favor increase. They'll witness doors opening that should have been locked. They'll see miracles break out in your life with no logical explanation. And that's when the monitoring turns into murmuring. But by then, it won't even matter, because you'll be so aligned with your assignment that opinions will lose all power. You'll be too busy living the answered prayer to worry about the ones still doubting.